someone else passed. Someone else had passed away. I believe a 21-year-old apprentice, I think. I think she was a care assistant on placement. She was doing a course, and she was found dead. I think they describe it as a murder case, but there's no further, there's nothing else said about it. I've not heard anything else about it. And I'm not sure if it happened around the same time, but I think somehow it may have been before Sarah's, and then just dismissed.
Now, are you referring to the young lady called Blessings?
Yes, that's correct. Correct, yes.
Right. This case, that happened, for clarification for everybody, that happened last year, September.
Blessing on. Oh, okay.
Right, okay.
Well, Denise, I've sent you a little clip, which later on I'd like you to just play.
Yes.
And I'll explain a bit more around it. Sorry, Beverly, I'm Beverly Horpike, yes?
Yes, okay. Yes,
bring her up, yes.
Yes, I get your point, and thank you for reminding me of the name. It was Blessing. And so her situation occurred, and there was no big fanfare, no big, publicity that I can remember. I know, and thank you for correcting and informing us that it happened in September, but I knew that was a case of another young Black woman round about the same age. Mm-hmm. And, it's something that you have to scratch your head to think about. Yep. Whereas in this case, it's like a mega event. Mm-hmm. And I think there's just so much focus on it. And going back to what Sister Vanessa just said, yes, there is a hurting family somewhere, but then so was that hurting family last year. And very little credence was given to it. So there's a complete disparity. And so that's why I'm saying I'm not surprised, because this is a Caucasian woman and not, anyway, I'll say enough. That's enough for now.
Oh, that's fine. Anybody else, please?
I just wanted to say, is it because it was the murder has been committed by a policeman? Yeah. Why it's in the headlines, whereas all the others are just not? Because it's like if an ordinary person is being killed, it's a murder. But if a president or someone of a high status, it's an assassination. Is that why? Because of a policeman being the culprit. That's how I see it.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like that. And I think it's to the police's advantage that it's been hijacked by a general women's campaign, which does not focus on the fact that the perpetrator possibly abused his position to gain the trust and attention of the victim. I think it's very serious, and it will be, and has been so far, brushed over.
What's brushed over?
The fact that it's not just been focused on, it's about women reclaiming the streets, but an actual quite senior police officer could have used his advantage and position to actually gain the trust of somebody on the street. And that, I think, is a very, very serious issue. Not that the Reclaim the Streets isn't, I'm not saying that, but something extraordinary happened and it needs to be really looked into. That's how I feel. And I think it's to the police's advantage that it's been clouded by all of this other rhetoric.
I don't feel that it's clouded. Personally, I've been totally confused as to why there has been so much demonstration when there are so many women over a year who are murdered in one situation or another. He's a man, and I think there is so much going on that we don't know, that has not come out, because I cannot understand how quickly did they find this person. We don't know. Was there a relationship? We don't know. But yet there is this massive crowd following this situation that I don't think, not even when the Ripper was doing its thing, did we see anything like this.
Okay, so there are a couple of answers that I could give you in relation to what you've just said there, Sister Faith. And it is only because of the experience of working in law enforcement and working on the drug squad, the things that I do know. One of the things is, whenever a undercover police car or a standard vehicle, as soon as you turn on the blue light, and we call them blues and twos, it automatically registers and tells the command center that that blue light is on.
Ah.
Yeah. And if you are in an undercover police vehicle, all police vehicles are fitted with tracking devices, and customs too. So we would have the Bluetooth, but now customs vehicles, we don't have them that you can see them. We have to take it out, fling it on the top of the vehicle, and then and turn the blues on and get going. But if you are driving an undercover vehicle, it has tracking in it. So in this case, police officer picked her up in potentially Clapham, and she ended up in Ashford.
Oh.
How were they not quicker to realize that he was in the area? There are many, many questions. I'm just explaining that to you, that some systems, you can tell where individuals are if they are, for example, in a police officer in a undercover car. And he's part of the protection squad in Parliament. The disturbing thing with him, 3 months ago, he was warned and potentially on suspension for indecent assault.
Indecent assault.
Exposure or assault? Exposure or assault?
Exposure. Indecent exposure. And there are also complaints of sexual assault, but they were never able to stand those. But that's something on the QT. But the indecent exposure is right up there.
Yes.
So I've just quickly been writing down. Is there anybody else who wanted to make a comment on the first question?
What was the first question, Pastor Berry? Because I came in a bit late, so I came in the middle of all of these. What was the question?
Okay, go for it for me, Sister Venice. I've just dropped my pens.
She was asking about we first discussed the young lady found on the beach, but she was asking, is there anything about this Sarah Everard case that's actually struck you? Anything about it? Could be anything. And somebody raised the issue of, but there was the news about the person found on the beach. Others have said about, well, when we got into the discussion, it was a police officer, and about the Reclaim the Streets demonstrations. And we're at the point where Pastor Bell's just trying to get a sense of how each of us is feeling about that particular situation. What was your incident?
Well, I wouldn't say, well, what struck me obviously was the fact that it was a police officer, but I do remember that soon after it happened, I can't remember, I was talking to a friend of mine, and the friend was asking me, is she some sort of celebrity or something? No. Because of the way it's, sort of was blown up immediately, like almost immediately. It was this big thing.
Yeah, I thought
it was. I think so, but I don't know why. But for me, it's really the police officer thing, especially as he's a protection officer.
I think he'd know how to make the perfect.
And I'm glad Pastor Beryl has sort of cleared it up in my mind, because I was wondering, they said that the last time they saw her was on Poinders Road, and somehow the police was immediately straight away able to go to Kent to start digging. because they didn't dig anywhere else. They went straight away to Kent. So I was wondering,
Yes. Oh, I thought, what's going on here? They're doing something that we don't know. And this last time somebody found something out. I was totally confused by the whole operation. Considering how many women are hurt, go missing, are murdered in a year, let's say, just consider it 1 year. And I thought, well, what's going on?
I did as well. Sorry about my cats. It's been disturbing.
I want to do a screen print, but the cat is over your name, so it needs to move a little bit to the center.
What? They say she missed me. I was going to say that I'm surprised that it was like the rest of you, that it was so quick. That they just managed to find out all the information so quickly. Like, were they tracking her or were they tracking him? Or, you know, that they from the time when they said, oh, she's missing, to the time they said that they found it may be a police officer. And I thought I heard that she used to date him, but then I don't know, like she went to visit a friend, and next minute there's body parts found.
That shocked me.
And then it was all over within a matter of days.
This is a few days and they're talking about remains. I couldn't get my head around that.
Yeah, body parts and remains. I was like, what? What did he do to her?
Yeah.
So, and why her? And in such a short space of time, he took her from, is it Clapham Common, all the way to Kent?
Yes.
And how did he get her in the car? Have they got footage that they haven't told us about? You know, the cameras, because they said they followed her cameras from you know, we saw her on the screen from various different places, but then they probably didn't show us all. They might have picked up his car in the vicinity as they track these cars, as Sister Beryl said, yes. And they may have picked up his car in the same vicinity and then decided to track his car all the way to wherever it ended up. And it so happened that the pieces were put together very quickly because she was in the car. It's terrible, absolutely terrible. And yes, you're right, Sister Venice. I agree with you. To me, the vigil seems to have clouded the fact that he was a senior police officer, and we're supposed to trust the police. A lot of us don't trust them anyway, but still.
And one of the things I noticed was that on the news, whenever they were talking about it, and especially with the vigil and the other women that got arrested and whatever, they never once say that it was a police officer. It was as though they were like, they were, even the media, it's as though they were trying to shield him, but you can't shield him because we already know.
Yes. But they're still doing their protection, even though this man has done such a horrific thing.
But do you think it's possible that the media couldn't believe that it was a police officer?
Why wouldn't they believe? They know everything. They're into everything. They cover up what they want to cover. They bite whoever they want to bite. They shield whoever they want to shield, because they are an entity that is emotionless and brainwashed to keep society in a certain condition. Those who allow themselves to be conditioned.
What do you think?
They're not doing truth. They're not doing justice. They are doing their thing.
But there's no benefit in the media. In fact, the person who breaks the story to say it is a police officer instantly would get a £5,000 bonus.
Oh.
It's your interest.
Wow.
As soon as you get, and that would be the smallest amount of money that person would have got
Wow.
for breaking the story. So it's in the media's interest to ramp up this story. So the next thing I want to ask you, as women, have you ever been afraid whilst walking, driving, getting on the train? As a woman, have you ever been afraid outside on the roadside?
Yes.
Yes.
Explain it.
Not on the roadside. Since living up here in Milton Keynes, I find that there's lots of areas where, 'cause I used to go out and walk early in the morning in my park area. And then one morning I just felt a spirit saying to me, should you be walking in this park by yourself? And I just, and it was near winter time, and I just had to stop walking because I was walking in the park by myself, and I was fine because I'm from London. You're used to jumping on the tube, on the train, lots of buses, and you go by yourself. You're not really, 11 o'clock was nothing to be coming home at night. 12 o'clock was nothing to be coming out. I think you have a different kind of resilience in London than you do up here. And because it was so remote, there was no one around at 7 o'clock in the morning, it was dark. And then all of a sudden I thought, oh, I actually felt, oh, there's no one in this big old park, no one near the lake. There's all these trees and bushes, a railway opposite that. Oh, I'm really not being careful. So then I stopped. I stopped walking when it's dark. I now only walk when it's light.
I don't know if it is the times that we're in or what is it. I have to say, I don't feel fear. If there is something happening, I get a feeling. If there's a particular thing, I just call it entity because it might be a weird man or a weird boy or something like that. And I get a feeling at a particular time, then I sort of get my hair stand on end, and I sort of take precautions or, make sure that I'm having. There was a time when I tried with a particular thing in my car because I realized with all that was happening and was happening to women, that sometimes even being in a car, you may not be safe getting to your car or getting out of your car. So I used to have something in the car door that should I feel at any time unsafe, it would really straighten somebody else out. But let's put it this way. When I just moved to Milton Keynes, I was driving from Milton Keynes to London for work. And I mean, cars packed up with these dresses, taking them, coming back. And no matter what weather, winter, summer, autumn. And this particular day was such a very rainy day coming up the M1. And I got a puncture and had to sort of stop at the side of the road. And this is in an evening when it started getting dark. Totally thinking, just sort of thinking, okay, well, what do I do here? And the strangest thing happened that a car drove up and stopped in front of me, and this man came up with one arm in a sling. And asked me what was my situation, and he actually had to take out the jack, change a tire, and sort that out for me. Not just, he's an angel. God sent him.
Yes.
Because I'm being taken care of. He's an angel. And the fact that he had his one arm was in a sling was the spirit making me feel comfortable or feel safe in a way. And yeah, in that then, now, I don't know. I think I would be a little more uptight, probably, at this point in time, because for some reason, I keep saying to Venice, I think they have sprayed some insane gas in the air. And people are going crazy, and the things that they are doing beggars belief. The amount of times in the week that my jaw is just dropped of what this person has done or that person has said, that I'm insanity. It must be contagious. So perhaps it's the time that we're living in and the things that are happening at the moment that seem so aghast that one is a bit more careful with everything really.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else?
Just share briefly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I had a situation where I went to an evening meal. One of our staff members were getting married the following week, so she was taking annual leave and wanted everyone, including myself, as part of the team, to come and, you know, have a meal. You know, not quite the hen night, but it's a works thing. And then she was having her own party afterwards. So we're at this event in the city. I drove my car, parked in a multi-story car park, attended the event, and on the way I had company because there were other people round about the same time parking up and waiting for each other, and we walked down as a big group. Come right 10, it was about 10:15. Bev's itching to head home, you know, but for them the night has only just begun. And I know for me on a Friday night out at that time is not my thing. So I bid everyone goodbye and tried to find my way back to the car park. Now, yes, it's in the city of Norwich, but the way to the car park where this pub restaurant was, you had to walk into some side roads. And I wasn't 100% certain which road I needed to take. That's because on my way there, it was 1, daylight, 2, I was with company and they knew the way. So I was just following them. But it's different when you're returning on your own and you're not quite sure. So I took a turn into this side road. It was very quiet and there was no one on the road. But on both sides, you know, there was the cars parked up. And as I walked down, I just got this sense, and it's as though the spirit just said, walk in the middle of the road. So I stepped off the pavement, walked into the middle of the road, and I thought, I wonder where I got that idea from. And just as I turned to the left, I saw what looked like, you know, when somebody's standing in an alley and they're smoking a cigarette, and then the cigarette drops. So I just saw this spark, this light, it was the orange light, just go down. And I thought, there's somebody in that alley. So I started to walk faster, and of course my palpitations started. And I was walking really fast and sort of occasionally looking back just in case somebody was going to follow me. Anyway, I eventually got to the car park, and I was still, you know, feeling threatened, even though nothing happened. The feeling was there, and I got into the car park, and I tell you, Yahweh is so good. When I got to the pay and display, you know, where you put your ticket in, and the place was deserted. And this is town centre, and I'm thinking, oh dear. So I'm now looking in my wallet, didn't have the right change for the machine. And there's no button to press to get any help or anything, because usually there is, but there was no response. And there was a couple, an English couple that came up, and they saw my dilemma. And I asked them if they had the change, you know, for a £5 to put a couple of pounds in. And the chap said, well, we'll wait with you. I thought, Father, thank you so much, because I don't know if I looked petrified to them. But they stood there while I put my, you know, £3 whatever into the machine, and went in the lift with them.
Yes.
Up to my level. And then I just thanked them very much and just say, bless you, you know, and I walked off and headed straight for my car. And I was so glad to get in it and start it. Because, you know, when you're in a city area where you sometimes think you're safe, and then you just realize all of a sudden there is no one around, and you could be accosted. And it's not very nice on a Friday night. So yes, when you ask the question, have you ever felt afraid, especially when you're on your own? Yes, I have. And that was just one example. I've not had many, but that was one. And I was so pleased to follow the spirit saying, walk in the middle of the road, which was strange because I don't normally do that. You mean normally you walk on the pavement? But I walked, I just stepped off the pavement because I just got that feeling. And it's like something said to me, walk in the middle of the road. And I stepped in the middle. And then as I turned to the left, I saw this light drop in the passageway. So that was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Sister Beverly Herbert, your hand was raised as well.
Well, it wasn't me, it was my daughter. And just like Sis Hall Pike has said, yeah, God is good. She was at college and she had this little part-time job she used to do. And I know a certain time at night she would come in. And I see the time come and pass and she didn't come. And I was laying on my bed and a mind told me, get up, put on your dress over your nightie, put on your coat and go out there and wait for your daughter. I did exactly that. And one bus came and she didn't get off that bus. And I'm saying, where's this girl? And I kind of turned and started walking back home. And a mind said to me, turn around and go back. And it was a good thing I did, because then I can't remember exactly how it went. But as I turned around, she had got off the bus, was walking towards home. And there was this man, where he came from, only God knows, because while I was standing there, I didn't see anyone. And all of a sudden he was there walking behind her. And the strange thing about it is, while I was up in Newcastle with her, just over the Christmas there, for some unknown reason, we started talking about this story. And she turned to me and she said, Mom, I was never so glad to see you in all my life like I did that night.
Mhm.
Right? And I was lying on my bed and the spirit, get up and get dressed and go. And as I sit here, God's honest truth, I was so glad, because I don't know what could have happened to my child that night.
Mhm. Mhm.
And what I say to her, if you know you are going to be late, call me. In those days, it wasn't no mobile, but I had a phone. Call me and tell me, and I will judge and come and wait out at the bus stop for you. And so said, so done. But I can understand how Sis Bev felt with walking on her own.
Yeah.
Right? But that night, the good Lord above, he sent me a message. I acted on it and he stayed with us until we got safely back in the house.
Yes. Yes. Amen. Thank God. Yes. Yes.
I'm going to just read out, Sister Valerie said, wasn't the officer initially arrested with a woman? And Sister Leslie says, yes, but I believe she's out on bail. Some people say she's his partner, but I'm not sure.
Can you say that again? Who was arrested with a woman?
The officer, the
Really?
Yes.
Yes, I think they said there might have been an accomplice.
Oh my God.
Yes.
No, definitely there was a woman, because the news media told us when she was out on bail. So definitely there was somebody else, a woman.
And she's 30 years old. They say she was 30 years old.
Maybe this is why this other one got killed, because you remember Fred and his weird wife.
Rose.
When people have
Rose.
evil hearts, you know, when you have a good heart, you can always find very good around good people. But I do believe, and I always believe, that whatever your inside is, if it's evil, you'll gravitate and you find those people gravitating you towards people like that. Whatever you are, those are the people that will gravitate towards you, and you can do things with them. Even the evil people, they find their compatriots and do evil together. Never cease to amaze me.
And you
And
said,
that leaves. Oh, sorry. Go on.
has she been on bail? She's been put out on bail.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense though.
They're not really saying much about that at all. They're not really saying why they arrested her, what she's supposed to have done. It's just little things in the news about her.
They can't gather evidence. They have no choice but to let them go. Just they need time to find out.
She might have been at the other end. So when he picked her up in London, when it's again, I don't have the whole thing concrete, but my understanding is that by the time he had got
Oh, your sound is going.
Sarah back to Ashford, she was camera off.
We're using this, yeah.
Say that again. When she got back to Ashford, Oh, we've lost
is
her.
that she error. Hold on, I'm going to redial in on another device. Give me
All
a minute.
right. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, that's true. That's true. I think that when the case actually comes out and it goes to trial, if it goes to trial, if he doesn't plead guilty, there's going to be an awful lot of information that is going to come out that we don't know.
Ugly information. Yes.
That's if he pleads not guilty. And that's if he makes it to trial. Twice he's self-harmed and been hospitalized.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You mean after doing his dirty doings, he don't, well, why am I surprised? They do that, they do these things,
If
and
he
they,
can kill others, he can kill himself.
yes, they always want to, they don't want to face the consequences.
No.
Yes, there is that. But
Well,
also,
some
you never
guys-
know whether his colleagues might have given him a bit of a going over.
Well, this is it, because I thought that he was self-harming because they were talking about head injuries. And I was saying, oh, he must have been hitting his head on the wall.
No,
And
no,
somebody
no,
said
other
no,
guys will give him a good beat.
No, I think, sorry, Sister Leslie, what did you say? You think?
because I was thinking it was self-harming, but somebody was telling me that no, he was beaten up, so I'm not sure.
No, it is allegedly self-harming, allegedly.
But that's what I thought, because I think they'll keep him under, good protection. So I don't think they'll be able to beat him up in his cell, because whatever happened in his cell. And so I think he was deliberately hitting his head on the wall or something.
Yeah.
Because they were head injuries.
Yes. Mr. Pastor Beryl, are you ready
Yes, ma'am.
to
Yes.
move to your next question?
Right. Okay, so I heard some of the questions, and I was just explaining that from the details that I hold at the moment is that he killed Sarah before he got to Ashford. And so when he arrived, she was seen as being an accessory after the fact, but they're still trying to nail it down. At some point, she realized that he had done something, and that's why she was arrested, but it's still to work through. The next place that I wanted to ask some questions. Well, is there anybody else who wanted to comment on being afraid? If there was anybody else, then feel free.
No.
Are we aware of just how many offences, and these are what I would consider, they're not like parking, or these are in your serious category offences, are committed by police officers each year?
Yes,
including murder, including bank fraud.
Yes, I think
Assault.
it's pretty high.
No, I'm not aware.
I wasn't aware of what you're bringing up here, but I actually was saying, I was talking with Venice, and I was saying to her, the problem is that society thinks a job title makes certain people pure. I brought it to attention that a job title is about the job. The person's personality at heart, anybody is the same, whether he is a minister, a so-called church minister on the pulpit that doing ghastly things, or a police officer, a doctor, raping children. The job title is just a job title.
Yeah.
We need to get our head out of that place where we think, oh, because he's a judge, he's okay, he's good. Okay. Yeah. Because he's a superintendent. He's fine, he's okay.
But you know that such jobs where there's a crime committed and they've been found guilty, you get an enhanced prosecution punishment because of the breach of trust. Because the particular job you hold carries such trust and responsibility.
Yeah.
So where bog standard Joe Bloggs would get one sentence, you would then add an enhancement on. It's not called that because of the breach of trust in a particular position. So it's you take your chances because you're.
I thought it was the opposite.
No, not at all.
No.
Not at all.
No, for that one, you're absolutely right. And again, for my customs days, where we had people within HMRC who'd committed fraud, and particularly at the times when we worked in the airport. And there was a very, very big case of somebody called Richard Riley that you can look him up. It's one of my early ones. Really trusted guy, been in customs for a long time, but he was allowing people to come into the airport from the Caribbean with drugs in their bag, pretending to search it. And he would know who they were, pick them through, and let them go through.
Oh, he was a middleman.
Yeah, but he was, he really only came to highlight when he actually got married, that he had the most lavish wedding ever.
Oh.
Driving the top of the range, it was a BMW sports car.
Oh.
And he lived in the middle of Dulwich. It was questionable that somebody who works
in that.
It's not that you can't have money, but you can't have money like that.
Like that.
If you work in a particular, but that was the theory. So we bugged his car, blah, blah, blah. The upshot of it is, so the moment he was arrested, he pleaded guilty straight away.
Oh.
Because he knew immediately if you mess about with this thing, and he got 25 years.
Ooh. If it was murder, he would get 10.
Well, if it had been murder, he'd have got potentially 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
But because he was a serving officer, he got 25 years bang. If he'd have messed about and said, oh no, not guilty, he may have ended up with near 30 odd.
Wow.
But they immediately take off 7 years for pleading early.
Oh.
So in the end, I think he did 15 years altogether. I had asked you about there are in England and Wales, roughly there are about 125,000 police officers. At the moment, there are more than 900 police officers with convictions, and they are still employed by the police.
Wow.
Okay.
So
wasn't that came out the other day? They were saying that, was it yesterday? They said that that he's still getting his full wages.
Yes. Yes.
They were appalled. But I was thinking, but he's a civil servant. He's entitled to 6 months full wages.
That's shocking. That's
yes. You're entitled to
civil servant.
Sorry?
Police officers are not civil servants.
Are they not civil servants?
No.
What are they now?
Police officers, no, they're not civil servants. They're public servants, which are different. Civil servants don't work for, civil servants work to the government, to the Queen.
The Queen.
They actually work, they work to the Queen, and they carry out the work of government.
Of the national government.
Yes, but they are not employed by government. Government have the police as another arm, but they're public servants, which is a different thing.
The Metropolitan Police.
Mm-hmm. They're not civil servants.
So what is a public servant?
Like
really?
Like fire, the fire people, ambulance, they're all public servants.
Okay.
Mr. Blondell asks, wasn't there a policeman involved with the big bank heist in Kent?
Yes.
I'd be surprised.
What I'm saying to you is,
it's just a job title.
Just as we have 125,000 in England and Wales, they're not all bad. There are some decent, honourable, great police officers. They're not all bad. But when we are looking at the word and we're studying the word, there are things that the Bible shows us and how we recognize fruit. Mm-hmm. And even in our own prejudices, because I think Mother Weir alluded to a point that I wanted to make. And she said, if somebody is killed in the street, we say it's murder. But if a president is killed, it's an assassination.
Yes.
Isn't it all murder?
The
Isn't it all
murder.
murder? Yes.
Murder. But there's a but to it.
Yeah, but isn't it? It's still all murder, isn't it?
Yes.
But people don't say, "Oh, he assassinated the man on the corner." So are we, with our expectations, looking at people with wrong expectations?
I guess some people, but as you say that, what came to my mind, it's like, infanticide, or that word if an uncle kills a nephew, or, there are words for these specific crimes according to the relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but those words are used to describe. So if you say the word patricide, it's where you kill your parents. Matricide is where you kill your mother.
Yeah.
Infanticide is where you kill your children. So there are, the moment you say the word, you know what the person has done, and it's all encompassing. But it has always fascinated me how we have used different words, and so hence leads us to the case of Blessing that Beverly Hall Pike mentioned at the beginning.
Yeah.
Blessing went from London to Bexley Heath on a training course. It was a, what do you call this thing?
Like apprenticeship?
Apprenticeship, yes. And she was found dead on a beach down by, if you bear with me, let me just pull this up.
Would you like me to show the video?
Yes, please.
Did they find the murderer?
Shagun was
no,
a 21-year-old girl from London who was doing a week-long work placement in Bexhill in Sussex. She never made it home. Police are treating her death as not suspicious. How can a 21-year-old girl go for a work placement 2 hours away from home, not make it home, and the police are saying that, oh no, it's fine, nothing happened? Okay, so we cared enough to find out what happened to Sarah. Why does police not care enough to find out what happened to Blessing? Her family need answers. Her friends need answers. We need answers. We all value Sarah's life, right? That's why we're all saying her name. Don't forget Blessing's name, please. She matters.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Bernice. So the background behind that is that she's a 21-year-old woman. She was found dead on a beach in Bexley Hill last year. And the post-mortem has been determined that she had drowned. On September the 18th, 2020, Blessing Ologun was found lying on the beach near Galley Hill. The young woman from London was on a one-week placement working as a live-in carer for the elderly at the time. An investigation was launched by Sussex Police and the death was treated as unexplained, though not suspicious at that stage.
Oh, for goodness sake. Are you serious?
Did they ever search for a person that might be connected to her death?
The only thing I heard was
open
she was on the phone to her boyfriend at the time. I said, oh, hang on, stay on the phone with me, stay on the phone with me. And she was talking to him, and that's the last conversation had. That's all I know about it, which is awful.
Apparently, it's back in the news now because there's a petition apparently about racism. I'm just seeing this. I just Googled her.
Mm-hmm.
1 day ago and 2 days ago, they're talking about a petition.
Yep.
Demands answers over Blessing's death.
Mm-hmm.
because they are saying it's racism. That's why the police did not investigate it properly.
Absolutely.
They're saying what? Sorry, I didn't hear that, Leslie. They're saying what?
I'm saying it looks like it's back in the news because I just Googled it and I've seen 2 articles. One was 1 day ago, one was 2 days ago, saying there's a petition going around now because they think it's racism. People are saying it's racism. Why the police did not investigate properly. Blessings death, yeah. So it's back in the news.
I'm going to argue that it's probably because it was so easy to trace Sarah Everard, the case, because of the factors, the blue light, the fact it was so easy to get the answers.
They didn't have to work for it. It was there in front of them.
Yeah.
No, but still, you cannot say there's nothing suspicious about Blessing's death.
Absolutely.
You know, that's just dismissing it, and so we can forget about it. And that's not good enough.
Yes. I'm going to bring up something that it's kind of changed my life perspective, Mum as well, because Mum is our relative. But back in 2016, my cousin was found murdered. She was murdered by her partner along with her 2 sons, age 4 and age 8. Now, she went missing middle of December. She had motor neurone disease. I've got a little image here. She had motor neurone disease. I'll talk while you see it. And she had decided that she needed help to look after her children, and her partner wasn't really helping too much. So she said to her mum and sister, look, let me go home and tell him he can see the children, but I've got to come back home, Mum. I've got to come back home, sis. And she used to call every day. So there they are. They were about that age when they died. And that's the person who did it, her partner.
Oh, remember this?
Yeah. I remember this case.
Sorry, wasn't she an actress on EastEnders?
Yes.
I'm about to make is that she was missing, and it's when it became apparent that when it became known that she was an actress on EastEnders.
Yes, that they acted
in public.
Yes, I remember. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I do remember it, yeah.
So obviously before that time, Bernice, what you're saying is there wasn't much interest at all.
No,
there wasn't.
Yeah, there you go.
There wasn't much interest at all. So say from December 13th, she was missing. Say from about Christmas, they discovered she was an EastEnders actress. Her body and their sons were discovered in a shallow grave in their garden. He'd killed them, mutilated them, and wrapped them in rugs and and it was horrific. It was horrific. And but what I will say, and then in the meantime, the killer went off and skipped off and went and hid in Ghana.
Yes.
Managed to go from Scotland to, I think, Holland to Ghana, where he was found eating coconuts and drinking coconut water on the beach. Well, the Ghanaian people, when they discovered who he was, just beat him. And the police took him and everyone was just saying, please, we want him back in England in one piece so he can face justice.
Trial, yes.
He tried to say that it was a pact that they'd made when she got too sick. He didn't get away with it. They say you can't make a pact like that with a 4 and an 8-year-old.
The babies made a pact with him to kill them too.
That's so they said you can't make a pact with the children. But the point I wanted to make from it, one, that's when you realize that all perceptions that you have of the boundaries that humans have, there are no such boundaries.
No.
People go above and beyond what that police officer did. You can't make it up. An author writing a horror story could not make that up. Real life is often harder. And the details with our cousin is awful. The other thing, though, that I realized is that the search was serious. More than a week later, when people caught up that she was in EastEnders. But there is a last one, which was that the police were getting such bad press because they took so much time to find her and the way the case was going. But the truth was that the police were wonderful and probably saved as much as possible the sanity of some members of the family. I must admit, my Auntie Pansy since died, I'd say, of a broken heart. She had a heart attack about a year later. She was never the same. But the police were so wonderful, because we would go round to the house during the time that this was happening and she was missing, and the research, in real life what's happening. And they were wonderful, and they became like family. And so we're reading in the papers such awful things about the police, but they could not have been better public servants. They were absolutely incredible. And I think, again, that's why I'm so upset about the hijacking of Sarah, because the pain that the family was going through. I was there every day at the Old Bailey when, for the sentencing hearing, he pleaded guilty with that foolish excuse. And it was very, very difficult. But the police had been with the immediate family so close and held them so tight right through the process that I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. I must say.
And I can't bear to remember it, because I cannot come to terms with how you can do that.
Yes, but I'm looking at the time, and the point is that for those 900 crooked, disgusting police, there are another group that are tremendous.
Yeah.
And thorough, and take their role seriously and personally, and do it for a vocation and not a job.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to balance it.
I think that's very powerful what you've shared, and yes, it does open our eyes to always value the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
But I think very often what we see, particularly as BAME community, is that what you've just said is perhaps a minority of the general force. And I don't think the majority of people would feel the same way. The majority of BAME, I think perhaps the Caucasians would feel differently, but BAME people who have experienced firsthand a lot of, awful situations, unnecessary situations as well, including, I could tell you about my brother taking out his white girlfriend and how he got beaten up by police, and she was told to get lost. Scarpa. And they were on a bridge on the way back from ice skating ring. Yeah. So I just put that in there to say, to qualify the issue of the BAME community. I mean, my brother was doing nothing, he was walking her home. But, the police came up, they stopped him, did the stop and search bit, told her, to clear off, as if to say, you don't belong around here, and beat him up.
Wow.
On the street. So he came home in a right state, and my dad was hopping mad. I mean, it was just, so what I'm saying is these are unnecessary scenarios that Black people have often faced. And therefore, what you've said, Sister Venice, is good to hear.
Yes.
Because I do believe that there are pockets of very good people who want to do a good job, and they go out with the intent of helping people. I mean, and I say that because I know that there are nurses and doctors just the same that want to help people. And there are some scoundrels, really horrible, wicked, evil people within the nursing fraternity. And I can tell you that for true, without giving examples. But I'm just saying that unfortunately for our community, what you've just said is comforting, but we don't feel that that's the majority of the force. Yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah.
There's good and bad in all of us, though, isn't there?
I was just about to say that in every situation of us human beings, you've got the good, the bad, and the ugly.
And the ugly.
True.
And when you're bad and you're ugly, that's a double blow, isn't it?
Yes.
You're right.
I think I've had some really good experiences up here and in London with the police. So fortunately, I haven't had, as a foster carer, when I first came up here for 4 years, I think the police were in and out of my house practically every week. It was just like open door, really. When you become a foster carer, you have to open the door to all of the other services anyway. So your house no longer just belongs to you. It's a long line, and that's part of the training. It's a long line of different services that it belongs to, and the police is part of it. So they always have to come. Even now, if any of those children that I've had in my care, if any of them go missing, even now, they knock on my door. And they don't just knock on my door, they ask to come and search. And I say, yes, come along, because they have to make sure that the child, any child that goes missing is reported to the police, and they've had time here in respite or in my care. They come to my house and search all the rooms, under the stairs, the garden, everywhere, even the loft.
Yeah.
The last time that happened was last year, the year before that, not so far this year.
Okay.
And they're very polite. So, yeah.
We do understand, my sisters, that, you know, they're doing a job. And as we said, you know, they're good and bad in all of us. But, you know, a couple of weeks ago, something happened outside my door, and where the police was involved. And in situation like that, sometimes when neighbors are questioned, they make things up.
Yes.
They make, you would be amazed at what some of these people say, and you didn't even see the incident. You know, it wasn't directly at my door, it was next door to my neighbor. But if it wasn't for my son, this person would have lost their arm. And yet we are being harassed by the police. I mean, they locked us down, you know, from, it happened like 12:30, quarter to 11, they were still in my house, and they put my daughter and myself and my grandson in one room, and they searched. A neighbor said the incident took place there, and a man came out and did chop this man with a machete, and then they came into my house, had a shower, and changed their tracksuit. Now you tell me how you see all that.
Oh my God.
Oh,
And
brother.
my sisters, let me tell you something. You see, God, trust him.
Always.
Because I had a dream prior to that event that the police were lurking around the back of my house. And I always share my dream with my youngest sister and my daughter. And I thought, you know what? Because nothing is going on. But every time these little boys want to commit their little nonsense, it's outside of our house. And the police had us on lockdown until 11:15 the night. And they are still questioning my neighbor. My neighbor said if it wasn't for my neighbor's son, this young man would have lost his arm. They arrested my son and my neighbor's son and kept them until 4 a.m. the following morning because of another incident that took place not far from us. They reckon that they're involved. Now you tell me, but they were so nice, these police. They have a job that they have to do, but sometimes, and the head of the police said this to me, we have to follow up every information that we are given. They searched and could not find this tracksuit. I said, because no one came in here. But God, my son stood in that blood, and not one footprint came into my house. Can you imagine? He stood in the blood. And God allowed it that no footprints came in because of these stupid things that these young boys are committing. And then the good suffer for the bad.
Yes.
The good suffer for the bad. But God.
Through it all, God is on the job.
Amen.
Through it all, God is on the job. And this is why we have to trust all the time and know that even if you feel afraid, and that is not the word, if you're aroused, because sometimes it's not fair. You just get the feeling, there's something not quite right. And that is the Holy Spirit waking you up, your consciousness to be on the alert.
Yes.
You know? Because God is protecting us, but we have to do our bit as well.
Yes.
And that's just what the situation is.
I would like to just ask you a final question, because this has kind of gone. The reason why we were doing this is that unfortunately Minister Althea had a last-minute emergency, so this was a topic that literally came up because it was viable. Do you know that? And this is about women as well. On a rape case where the victim is deemed as having been wearing a short skirt with a low cut top.
Yeah, I know what you're going to say.
The amount of women who have said that she was asking for trouble.
Yeah, yeah.
And when she has been attacked or sexually assaulted, and it's the women I'm talking about, and it has always shocked me that the thought, how do we feel about that?
Feel about what? The fact that women are saying that if she's dressed like that,
she's asking for trouble.
Sometimes that can be valid. Sometimes, I have to say, because
really?
I know when you're going out, when we're all going out, and it's if they're on their own, when the girls are going out together, as long as they're staying together, when in my going out days, I have to say, yeah, I had my belly out and there was time I was in my hot pants and all that kind of business. And we went out together and nobody went off. If anybody sees